How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Emerald City Hockey Post Game Live. That was a tough one, RJ. I mean, look, the Kraken, they had good first road period. They got up to an early 2-0 lead. Rough start to the second period. Then Dave Haxtell takes a very well-timed time out, turns the thing around for the team there. Just couldn't quite come back. And then obviously with the penalty situation at the end, Yanni Gourde taking that 5-minute major for charging just kind of really sealed this one for Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, frustrations really boiled over at the end, and I understand why they'd feel frustrated too, right? Really unfortunate turning point in this game as the Kraken goal to tie the game is disallowed for an offside. I mean, it's the right call. Yamamoto was offside, but man, after that stretch of play, that's maybe my favorite 2 minutes or so of Kraken hockey this season. Just the cycle from the fourth line, the stretch pass from Joey Decord, and it seems like the game's tied until it isn't. I think the Kraken recovered well from it, but ultimately that's just a frustrating way to lose a game.
It was. I mean, look, they played a really solid game. I felt like their effort in this one was certainly better than the last two games. I thought like this one was really they stepped up. They seemed prepared for it, especially in that first period. We were seeing them. They were always in the passing lane, always disrupting the Oilers, playing very physical. Their PK unit in the first period playing man to man, which was very interesting, but very effective against the deadly Oilers power play. And then it just kind of got away from him, right? Start the second period. It just wasn't that. And things got away from him there. But we'll get into all of it, of course, with everybody here in Post Game Live. Got to shout out Flat Stick Pub for sponsoring this as always, including we got some news about them, right, RJ?
That's right, we do. We have a date here for the Flatstick Pub Watch Party that's going to happen at the South Lake Union location. It's going to be February 13th, so that's a 4:30 start time for the game against the New York Islanders. So we'll have more details for you as that date approaches, but mark it on your calendar, February 13th at the South Lake Union location. So excited.
Yep, definitely excited to be able to do something at one of their awesome locations there. And then looking over here, we got some super chats here from Light. We'll start off with first one. I really wanted this for the guys. I love the effort, but small things cost them the game. Dunn and Riker running the power play will help so much, and basically everyone else lost tonight. Silver linings. Yeah, I mean, look, it felt like their healthiest game played in a little while. Right. I know you're still missing Vince Dunn, but you get Andre Burakovsky back. I felt like that really helped out things on the fourth line. And he looked good on the power play, just as he did when he left a little while ago. And then Riker Evans, RJ, stepping up in place of Vince Dunn, kind of just plug and replace.
Absolutely huge. And you mentioned on the last post game, you said kind of interchangeable with Vince Dunn, and you kind of stopped yourself after saying that. Like, look, I'm not saying they're at the same level or that the style is kind of the most similar comp, right? Mm-hmm. But you know what? Tonight, that's the word I kept coming back to is interchangeable. He looked just like Vince Dunn on that D pair. He led the Kraken with almost 23 minutes of ice time tonight, and I thought he looked like their best defenseman. I mean, this is a big step up for Riker Evans, and in a really important game too, shows how much Dave Haxtell trusts it.
He was all over the place in this one, and he was so poised, right? Like that was the word that we talked about in the live game commentary. Thanks everybody for joining us for that one as well. All of our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey. But he was so poised in the face of so much in this one, right? And I think about that one play that he made in the first period. It was very early on in the game where he's skating back against Connor McDavid. And he goes to play the puck, and the linesman kind of gets in the way of him playing the puck. The puck gets a little past him. McDavid gets around him with the spin move, and Riker Evans has to come back, and he stays calm. He doesn't take a penalty. He doesn't freak out. He comes back into the zone. He's able to make a strong defensive play, start moving the puck back up in a positive direction for the Kraken. And I think that just speaks volumes about a guy who had only played in 10 games so far, right? Like that's just not what you expect to see from somebody when they're going toe to toe against the best player in the world. And I thought it spoke volumes about where Riker Evans is at right now in his development. Light with another super chat here. Winterton and Shane, I'd love to see them again. I think we'd all love to see them. Look, we will soon, right? Like as soon as next year, potentially. But right now, I just don't know that it's time, especially as the Kraken find themselves here, RJ, in a 3-game skid.
Yeah, I mean, I think we only see them if it's really break glass in case of emergency time. And there's just nothing in their play tonight or over the stretch of the last, 10, 15 games that makes me think that it's, emergency time yet for those two. keep letting them cook in Coachella Valley. They're doing a great job there. I think there's a chance we see them as the season goes on a little bit later. But right now, I think the plan is just to keep them down.
Yeah. Marquez kicking off things over on the chat side of things. I need therapy stats. I hate the Oilers. I mean, I think all Kraken Nation's kind of right there with you. It's just another tough game against this team, RJ. Like, this is one of the better efforts the Kraken have had against them, and yet we still just sit here with seemingly the same result anyway.
Yeah, and the Oilers just seem to match up so well against the Kraken, just with their high-end talent and what they're able to do. You can't have even a momentary lapse of focus against this Oilers team. They will make you pay.
Yeah. Infamous hate how much the Oilers get away with because they're the NHL's darlings with their superstars. I don't know. I thought, look, Kraken had 5 power plays and they didn't convert on any of them. Right? Like
Yeah,
they
I mean,
had their
McDavid even got
opportunities.
called a couple times.
Yeah, twice McDavid went to the box. So very different than what we saw Monday against the Penguins and Crosby. And then Habak, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Not good.
Yeah.
Zoe had a good time on the live watch. Yes, it was fun having you in there, Zoe, along with everybody else. Have the Kraken ever won a game when a goal is taken away on a challenge? Seemed like that's always a backbreaker. Infamous there. Yeah, I mean, that was a big tough moment in this one, RJ, because it was a great setup. Like everything about it was great. You talked about it earlier, right? The cycle in the offensive zone, you're taking advantage of the fact that it's the second period and you have your offensive, your bench right there in the offensive zone. It's sweet. You're able to get Wenberg out there. You're able to get Brandon Tanev out there. Kaylor Yamamoto's the last player out there from that fourth line that had done all that work, RJ. Puck goes back out of the zone. Joey makes a great pass up to Wenberg to spring another rush. And Yamamoto just barely offsides on the change.
I know. So close. I mean, you saw how excited I was getting on the live watch along. I usually play it pretty cool for moments like that. I think that might be the most excited I've ever gotten on one of those over a goal or a moment or anything, because it's exactly what you want to see from the Kraken. Mm-hmm. The fourth line, what makes them so special too? The fourth line out there cycling against the McDavid line too. You got to look at who was out there for Edmonton. Just hem the McDavid line in for a minute and a half in their own zone. We're able to use that to parlay it into the quick up from Joey Decord, because no other goalie can really do that. That's such a great pass, and then didn't count.
I know. Another super chat here from Light. Also, I really want to see Riker shoot more. Anyone who saw him in CV knows his shot isn't hard and fast, but it's super elusive. That it is, and he was shooting in this one, RJ. You could tell he wanted his first NHL goal in this game, and I know what you're saying, like, because he was really trying to pick his spots in this one. There was even one point in time where I did ask that he start shooting a little bit lower so that he could maybe create a rebound up front for other guys to get to, but you could tell he was feeling it in this one, RJ, because he was really trying to get one.
Yeah, he also he did tie for the team lead with 4 shots on goal. It was him and Tolvanen, and the only two who had 4. He was putting a lot of pucks toward the net. I don't mind even if he wants to shoot more. I think let that shot do its work. And I think you're right, Light, that the shot, again, it doesn't have the most power on it, but it's elusive. He's good at what does Merrick call it? The sifter. Kind of get it through traffic, right? Finding the lane. He has a good sifter.
Yes, he does. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so good. So good. B, of all the things that happened in this game, stealing away Joey's beautiful assist is the most unforgivable to me. Why is playing the Oilers always the literal worst? That is true. I mean, it would have been a great assist too. That would have been great to have, because, at this point, everybody's watching Joey Decord, RJ. They would have all shown that highlight and talked about it. It would have been a lot of fun.
I know. And, over the last week, I've started seeing him on Twitter get some Vezina conversation around him, at least in, the talk kind of being there in the top 10 or top 5 or so. And that would have helped, I think.
Yep, that it is. Lindsay, aside from the first 10 minutes of the second, it wasn't an awful game, but giving me all that hope in the first with the 2-0 lead really stings. Yes. And it was literally just a 10-minute stretch of time, RJ, where the game got away from the Kraken. Look, it obviously got away from them to the point where Dave Haxtell felt the need to call a timeout. I mean, we know it takes a ton for him to do that, RJ. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what went wrong, because the Kraken, they were so prepared and looked so good in the first period and then just came out so flat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Oilers maybe were able to adjust a little bit, kind of find their legs, but still, I think there's kind of unforced errors from the Kraken. You look at that first Oilers goal, and you got Tolvanen and Alexiak going into that same corner together, and Borgen is not in a bad position there, but he does leave a little bit of extra room for Foegele back door, and that's all the room that the Oilers need on plays like this. Joey almost got across to save it, but it's just little things where there's just no margin for error against this Oilers team.
Yep. Chris, I know it's not a rivalry yet, but will be nice in the future for a Kraken enforcer to remind Edmonton they're not given any free passes. I think there was a couple of moments of that a little bit in this one, and then obviously the game ended the way that it did. And I'm not even referencing the Yanni Gord one, just the Will Borgen Fogel stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever that ended up being as they were trying to figure it all out. But yeah, I see where you're coming from, Chris. I do.
Although I will say I liked what Ty Karche did in this game tonight. Like from that kind of, not so much like enforcer in the traditional sense, but that big hit against McLeod, making his presence felt, and hitting McDavid after he kind of gave that little elbow shiver to Riker Evans, and McDavid getting in his face afterward because he was annoyed by it. So I like Karche playing that role tonight.
Yeah, and the fourth line, I would argue, was the second best line for the Kraken in this one, behind the Yanni Gord line. Right, like
I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah, they played really well when the team needed a sustained offensive presence. They were the line that could help give them that in a game where they didn't have a lot.
What did McDavid say to Karche though? Hey, Buster, knock it off. I think that's what hockey players say.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's definitely what they say. Whenever they're mic'd up, that's all I ever hear.
Yeah.
The little bit that they're allowed to use. B, name a bigger enemy to the Kraken than a 2-goal lead. You can't. You can't. But that's most. Yeah, that's about it. Warren Fogle and Zach Hyman. There you go. There's two. Yanni versus McDavid rivalry was not on my 2024 bingo card from George. And then Nicole, this game was just stupid and ugly. I hope they learn from it. Losing like this is way worse than whatever happened with the Pens and Rangers. So Nicole kind of going the opposite direction there. But does it sting worse, Nicole, because you felt like they had a chance at this one in the way we didn't really feel like they had one in those two games, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I think that it stings worse, but I'd rather see this on a more consistent basis than the Penguins game. It's just a better sign of things to come, I think.
Yep. Well, Habak's here to help. I got ibuprofen ready for them if it comes down to it. Trust me, I think hockey players probably need it. Just all the time, they probably need it. Aaron, Kraken had 5 chances on the power play and only needed to convert 1 to get a point. Need to do better. And this really felt like a step back for their power play, RJ, because their power play has been good through most of the year. But in this one, it was, we talked about it a lot on the live game commentary. You brought this up, the idea of it being overcoached when it came to the entries and just exiting the defensive zone. There was that one power play opportunity, RJ, where it took them 30 to 40 seconds just to get out of their own zone. And they weren't even being pressured. They just couldn't set up the way they wanted to.
Yeah, they were trying to set up this very specific zone entry attempt, and it just kind of wasn't working, and it felt like they just wasted a lot of time in the effort to do so. I mean, I like the suggestion that Zoe brought up on the live commentary about why don't you have Joey Decord kind of go for those stretch passes a little bit more. If the other team's making a line change, just have Joey get out there, leave one skater from the previous unit out there. You can kind of change it a bit later and just work on that stretch pass.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent idea. I would love to start seeing that from the team because, they need to do something there. Schultz with the super chat here. Thank you very much. Fortunately, not too much ground lost with not too much ground lost with the L's. Time to regroup and get healthy at home. Has Gru had a setback close for Winter Classic now week to week? I mean, that's certainly what we've been thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've been wondering since the aftermath of the Winter Classic. The Kraken have been on the road, so I haven't really had the chance to ask about it. But that's something I certainly intend on finding out in a couple days when they come back home.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron asking, can anyone here explain why it wasn't a 4-on-4 situation when Gord and Ekholm's penalties started? Because Yanni was given the major for it. So Right.
And that's a rule. I don't remember when they changed that, but when you have a major and the offsetting minor, I think that gets thrown to the end, if I'm correct, or if it's a major the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it must. I mean, there's just no 4-on-4 at all to it, right? Because you're not going to make the Oilers pull somebody off the.
Or was there somebody else, or did they give Gord another minor in that scrum and then that offset, or what was the?
No, I don't think so. Looking at the penalty thing, Yanni Gord charging against T.S. Ekholm, and then Ekholm roughing against Yanni Gord. That's it.
Huh, you're right.
So
I
yeah,
think that is the rule change. I'm sure somebody could let us know, probably because Viren. There it is. It's Viren, of
yeah, of
course.
course.
It's because it's in the last 5 minutes of the game. That is what the rule change was. If it's in the last 5 minutes of a game, then that 2 minutes doesn't offset.
Yeah,
I knew I had
definitely.
read about that somewhere like a couple weeks ago, and of course Viren's just right on it.
Yep,
So the team,
perfect.
yeah, she
Love
had.
it.
So the team that's supposed to benefit from the major actually gets to benefit from it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. George, John Hayden, all in caps. Now, look, I love having Berkey back. I love having him out there for the power play, RJ. It was interesting though that we would see Yamamoto in this game. I know it's against his former team, but we'd see him in a game in which the Kraken also very much, it seemed like, decided they wanted to play very physical. Surprising then
Yeah.
that you'd have Yamamoto out there instead of John Hayden while you still have John Hayden up and with the team.
Right. I think he's another level. Yamamoto's another level of player from John Hayden. And I think
Yeah.
given the kind of unofficial depth chart when you're looking at wingers, Hayden is only there if like people aren't good enough to go.
Mhm.
But he is in the AHL call up group and Yamamoto is in the regular group. And I think it was just that simple.
Yeah, definitely. Chip, offsides, 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 and another offsides. So know which place sticking with Chip for this one. Circling Seattle sports. Will be nice to get back home, get a couple days off, and then back to work when Toronto comes to town. I do think the 2 days off are going to help for sure. Gosh, that game was frustrating. Feel like I'm starting to hate Edmonton more than Vegas from Dexter. Look, to be real, like we were able to beat Vegas in that Winter Classic, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Edmonton is still the team, RJ. It feels like really constantly gets us.
Yeah, feels like the results of late have. I don't know. I would feel more optimistic going into a game against Vegas than against Edmonton right now.
Yep. Sean also echoing the sentiments from earlier. Strikes me that almost every time this season that something like that happens, the offsides, they just fade. It does seem to be a little bit of an issue for them. And then Jessica, given all the illness, I appreciate the overall effort. Let's get these guys home and healthy. It's certainly going to help more than anything right now. It's just getting everybody
I mean, you
healthy.
saw the difference that one day off in between games made for them, from the Rangers game to this one. I thought it was just night and day effort wise. 2 days is going to really help.
Yep. We had some talk about this in the live at the end of the live game commentary too, RJ. But Alan here, probably worst game of the road trip. Blew a lead, casualty penalties. Oilers being unbearably angry towards Seattle, and an all-around frustrating game to watch after the first period. I don't know. Like that game against the Penguins was just so off. They looked so bad. Like in this one, there was moments that I really, really enjoyed, like the PK unit in the first period and the style that they were playing. And maybe this is just because I'm a nerd for X's and O's stuff, but looking at the preparation the Kraken had for that first period and how much they adjusted their style of play to combat the opponent that they were going up against, I really liked that. And I didn't see that at all against the Rangers or Penguins.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's out of these last three games, I think it's the best one the Kraken have played. If you come into this game playing exactly how you did against Pittsburgh or to an extent New York, you get smoked. Like this
Mhm.
scoreline looks a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah, I certainly think so. Um, let's see, Stratic. Do we want the Kings or Preds to win? Now that is an interesting question, given where everything's at right now. RJ, they are playing each other right now. Last I checked, it was 2-1 Kings, I believe, at the second intermission. That's an interesting question. Which team would you rather be chasing right now?
I think you want the Kings to win. I think there's a chance, certainly after three losses here, you got to be more concerned with just getting into the playoffs in that last spot. And Nashville, Kings still have 3 games in hand on Nashville, and they're only 1 point ahead. But I think Nashville's the more realistic target as far as a team that you can catch.
I do. It's the games in hand still scare me from LA. So I'm with
Yep.
you. I think
They'll
the
figure
Preds
it
are
out
the
at some
scarier team.
point.
Yep, definitely. Love all the love for Riker Evans in here, by the way, everybody. I very much am seeing it. And it's
Yes.
it's very much shared from RJ and I. Sergio, I don't like the Oilers. They switch in my list most hated teams with Vegas and take first place. From the other hand, I feel Edmonton will make the Stanley Cup final. I know they've certainly been a popular pick, and look, RJ, the fact that they could look as bad as they did in this first period, come back out and just torch a team with 3 goals in 10 minutes like that, especially against a Joey Decord, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, they are dangerous. Now, I mean, they're only 4 points back of Vegas with 3 games in hand. Like they're almost tied with Vegas in points percentage. I mean, they're making a run toward the top of the Pacific Division here. They're just a dangerous team. I would not want to play them in a playoff series.
Casually have won 12 in a row too.
Yeah, I think only how many teams have done that? 19. Only 19 times that's happened. So, yeah, and as I mentioned on the live commentary, no team with a win streak that long has missed the playoffs. So they're gonna make it.
Yeah, we
All
can stop
right,
now. We
right.
can stop now. Let's see. 2 players as good as Vince Dunn sounds pretty good to me, especially for the future from Viren. Yeah, no, it sounds great. I think it's going to be interesting to see whenever Vince Dunn comes back, whether or not Riker's played well enough to stay in the lineup, RJ, and stay on the roster, really. Like, that's another thing to consider once Vince Dunn comes back, because I think he has, and I have to imagine Hackstall trusting him like this for back-to-back games, giving him the most ice time, all of this stuff, the different situations they've put him in. I gotta think that means something.
Right. I mean, this game of all of them, I think would erase the doubt for me, because after the last couple games, he was getting big minutes in those games, but you could point to maybe lopsided scores, certainly late against the Rangers. Second half of a back-to-back, the game's out of hand. You're going to play the kid who's got the legs. So I didn't put a ton of stock into that. But in this game, a game that was close until pretty much the very end against a good team, Riker Evans led the entire team in ice time. I mean, I think that says a lot. Justin Schultz had the least amount of ice time. I mean, there's like a 7-minute difference there. That has to mean something.
It has to. Nicole, they should have let Karts fight McDavid. Would have sparked me some joy. That would have been such a fun fight to see, RJ.
I know. How many fights does McDavid even have in his career?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
You're instant legend status if you're Ty Karche and you can get McDavid to fight you.
Oh, totally. Like, everybody will know who you are league-wide, definitely. Chip, it was really only 4 power plays. One was 19 seconds. Normally, I'm always there with you, Chip, on that, right? Like, I will totally agree with you that one, because there was the whole makeup call on McDavid after the Borgen thing, right? We talked about that in the live game commentary. The one reason why I'm going to go ahead and count it and say that the Kraken really kind of blew it and went 0 for 5 is because for that 19 seconds, one, the Kraken knew they were going to get that 19 seconds and they did nothing to set up for it. And 2, I think for that 19 seconds, they didn't have the puck for 17 of those 19 seconds. Like, they did nothing to set themselves up for that or to try to use that to spring momentum, get set up in the offensive zone, even if it was going to go to 5-on-5. Like, they really just treated that as though it didn't exist at all. And I don't think that's a good way of handling it.
Yeah, although coming off 4-on-4, it's such a possession-based game. Like, if you don't have possession to start it, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Right, but they did have possession to start it, and they lost it like 2 seconds in. Let's see. Sean, them flipping that 2-0 to 3-2 shows us all we need to know about how our boys match up with this team. Unfortunately, I mean, there's not really anything I can use to argue against that. Unfortunately, Sergio, the uncounted goal in the second broke our spirit. I think there's a little something to that, although they got going in the third, and then maybe they got going a little too much, RJ, by the time you get to the Yanni Gord charging call.
Yeah, I think they got their energy back. Like, I think they actually recovered from it pretty darn well. Like, whatever Hackstall said or didn't say in the locker room in that intermission, I think it worked. It's just you weren't able to get that one to tie it afterward.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, definitely right there with Lindsay, never forgiving the Oilers for taking away a Joey Daccord assist. It's a primary assist too, RJ. Like, oh man, that's good stuff.
As primary as it gets.
I know, like just straight up to the guy, spring him, let him go in. Chip, poor Joey's save percentage. So that is part of the problem with that like last minute goal there, RJ, was it does hurt Joey's save percentage here. Dropped him down to an 8.89 for this game.
Okay. I mean, for one game, it's not too bad. I think his overall save percentage will stay all right. I think he's still, I mean, at least looking at money puck. Oh, did he just miss out on the quality start there? Yeah, because the Oilers had 3.75 expected goals.
So that's tough. That is tough. Let's see here. Sergio, the next game is versus Toronto. It'll be key. If the Kraken can win, we likely stop the bleeding. Yeah, I mean, look, you've got 4 games after that look favorable, we'll say, based on the scheduling and stuff. If you're able to get one against Toronto, which, hey, Toronto's beatable. Like, we know that about Toronto.
Very beatable right now.
They're dealing with some tough stuff. I don't know if they're going to win tonight.
Just have to spot them a 2-goal lead.
Yeah. I mean, they won tonight, but still, yeah, exactly. You get them up or something, they'll find a way to blow that game later on. So I think there's a good chance the Kraken can turn this around against Toronto, especially coming back home. Maybe if you get another person back in the lineup, I think that'll help.
Yeah.
Um,
See, Matthews got all the goals out tonight with his hat trick, and now
Exactly. And then he can only get one in the next game. That's how he works. Sean, but is that not the story of the Kraken when things do go wrong? 2 solid periods plus, but then 10 to 15 minutes that lead to a loss. That is a problem for this team. Like they are a team that when the momentum gets working against them, and maybe this is speaking to they don't have a superstar RJ, but it does feel like they lack that person who's able to go out there and kind of just turn things around for the team when they need it.
yeah, and that's what a superstar brings to the teams that have a player like that. They can kind of lift you out of those situations. Kraken don't have one yet. One day they will, though.
And Lindsay pointing out Leafs are very beatable right now, and we get them on the second half of a back-to-back. So there we go. That's even more good news going into that game. Circling Seattle Sports. Do people still call each other Buster? RJ does.
Yep.
You should know that.
Yeah, come on, Buster. You got to know better than that.
Yes. Cappy, if Turbo could have cashed in on that breakaway, could have been a totally different game. Yeah, that's another one there, RJ, right? Like,
would that have made it 3-0?
It would have made it 3-0 in the first period. Right? Like,
I think that's too big of an ask to expect Brandon Tanev to score on a breakaway, though.
We did talk about
I think
that.
we all just need to accept that he's not going to do that.
He does struggle in those opportunities and in those situations, unfortunately, because he's really good at generating them for himself, right? He's got the legs; they're always working. All that.
What was
stuff.
The line in the?
He's all hands. He's all feet, no hands.
Yeah, there it is.
It's the line of Brandon Tanev, unfortunately. But yeah, because then at that point, RJ, that was still even like early on. There was still about 8 minutes left in the first period. You wonder if they pull Skinner.
Yeah, they might.
Right? Like, you've given up 3 breakaway
right
goals in 12 minutes of a game. I would pull my goalie in that situation just to try to wake up the team. Like, that totally changes the dynamics. So good call out there from Cappy. Karts turned around and said, "Good sir, I do detest that you have grabbed upon my collar. My hit was clean as newborn's bottom. Now unhand me." I think you're close, light. Maybe that's a slight bit more wordy than it looked like what Karts said, but I think you're close.
You got the spirit. You got the gist of it.
Definitely. Brooks agreeing. Need Turbo to work on finishing ASAP. It wouldn't hurt.
I like this from Lindsay. Warren McFogle and Zach Heiseit will always hurt us.
They do. It's true though. Like, the Kraken have to be the best team in the league at shutting down Draisaitl and McDavid, RJ, and still finding a way to somehow get beat.
Yeah. At least it's not from Evander Kane this time.
I never brought it up on the live game commentary, but I was thinking it the entire time. Was like, oh my, like, at least he's been unnoticeable. Yeah, he's been unnoticeable. Let's keep it that way. But yeah, it's crazy how consistent they're able to play against McDavid and Draisaitl and still not find ways of winning. Like that's very hard to do. I got to imagine. Zoe, their zone entries on the power play make me sad. Me too. Trust me, no one's more sad than me when it happens. Bach, if my math is correct, then we have a big win streak coming. My sources are saying 11 games. All right, well, I would take that.
Yeah,
I like those sources.
Optimistic sources.
Yes. Nicole, it's worse because it reminds me of losses from the beginning of the season. Falling asleep for 10 minutes cost us. Can't keep it up. I understand that, Nicole, and it is this does feel more like a loss from the beginning of the season. I would agree with that, RJ.
Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah. Let's see, talking about the rule stuff there. Rebecca, yeah, didn't that happen in another Kraken game recently? I remember talking about this. The major thing, did it?
Maybe that's why I saw it. I don't know.
It might have happened earlier in the season. Let's see. Oilers jumped the Kings in the standings and would face Vegas again if the playoffs started right now. LA has only one win in their last 10 and is currently trailing Nashville. Yikes.
Two teams headed in opposite directions for sure. That Edmonton Vegas series rematch would be interesting. I think Edmonton wins if that gets played right now, but it won't get played right now. So if
Yeah.
it gets played at the end of the season, I think Vegas takes it.
Yeah. Nicole's got me. If Hayden had played, he would have broken his leg again. I'm sorry. It's true. I didn't think about that. Can't put him in those spots. And Byron looked it up after it happened to the Firebirds because I was so confused. And Rebecca saying, yeah, it happened to the Birds. There. Cappy, positives. I think Dumo looked really good tonight. I mean, like, I think Dumo's been playing basically at this level for a while now, right? Like, it's limited opportunities and stuff. He's just solid. Like, it hasn't been any standout great moments from him, but he is playing solid. I know the pairing advanced stats numbers you were reading on the live game commentary didn't sound great for that pairing though.
Yeah, they weren't. But I liked what Dumoulin brought on that pairing. I mean, there was that one play that we noticed where he had a really good stick that took away a sure scoring chance. And I guess what I was impressed with the most from him, too, is that, look, he's not the fastest player. Like, there are a lot of Oilers that can just skate right around him. But the smarts, like to put himself in spots where he really didn't get beat with the speed, or he could kind of position himself to neutralize it, make it not that big a deal. Like, that's veteran savvy.
Yeah, no, he's playing really, really well for a third pairing defenseman, which is what he is for this team, and that's all he's got to do. And so I've been on board with Dumoulin lately. Light, I guess this may be controversial, but did the Kraken fade away after the overturned goal? I felt like the team did good about pushing in the third after it. Yeah, so I thought they faded for the last minute 52 that was left in that game, and I said it when it was being reviewed that if it was going to be taken off the board, if you're not going to be able to fight back right away, if you're going to let that turn momentum, then you just need to survive a minute 52. And the Kraken did, barely, but they did. And then they were able to adjust things over the intermission, which is, I feel like, what the best you could hope for in that situation.
Yeah, and I pointed out at the time too, I was impressed with, again, whatever Hackstall did at intermission to get the players in the right mindset to go out there and compete.
Definitely. Penguins loss was worse in my opinion. This is from Lindsay. New York Rangers was back to back. It was a scheduled loss, and Oilers was a near win or 3-3 tie. Dang offsides. So yeah, the offsides one or the Tanev breakaway, right? Like there was multiple things. There's always multiple things.
Yeah.
0 for 5 on the power play. Like there's lots of things we could point to beyond just the offsides one, even though that one certainly stings the most. Rebecca, yeah, I had a friend watching the Pens game, and I was like embarrassed for that to be the version of the Kraken they saw. At least the team resembled itself today and scored. Rebecca, yes, that's true. I forgot about that too. Not great stuff there. Yeah, and Jake agreeing this was better than that one. Becca, Columbus was the nastiest game. We won, but we lost so much. Plus the vibes and officiating were rock bottom. I mean, that was kind of a turning point, right? Like they won that game. McCann got back on the board, and he's kept up that pace too, right? Picks up another one in this one, RJ. But yeah, I mean, just walking out of there with so many guys either getting sick or hurt certainly hurt this team.
Yeah, that was the at what cost game where they won, but we weren't sure it'd be worth it in the long term. And 3 games later, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. Now I'm going to pull a strategic here, RJ, and I want to ask you which goal you preferred tonight, right? They were both of the breakaway variety, a lot of fun, and they both had incredible setups that I was really, really impressed by because they both came off of the Kraken generating turnovers in their own zone and then being able to use stretch passes or fun, nifty passes to get it up the ice and start attacking quick. So, RJ, which one was your favorite?
Good question. I mean, I got to go with the first one just because you have McDavid coming down on that play and you just have defense by committee, right? You got 3 players in there, which means you had forwards back as well. Like Bjorkstrand was the final guy to knock that puck off of McDavid's stick. And then he's able to turn it around quickly, make that stretch pass up to Tolvanen. Like that's what the Gord line does, like in a nutshell at their best, and actually Wenberg was the guy on McDavid, like in front of him, right? He was covering for the D. So, I mean, that's, the defensive forwards on this team are just second to none, and you saw it there.
Yeah, I mean, you get the Borgen little poke check, gets it up out and over to Bjorkstrand and then out to Tolvey. I like the McCann goal because McCann generates a turnover in the defensive zone. He parks himself in a passing lane, picks off a pass that was headed to McDavid, or no, it was from McDavid, I think. So headed to McDavid. McDavid was involved again, and McCann.
It was from McDavid headed for Ekholm.
Yeah. He picks off the pass, perfectly placed himself in that passing lane, is able to generate that, moves it up ice, and then just gets going, gets on his horse, starts skating down the ice. You get pretty passes along the way to get it up to him, especially that one from Eberle to kind of really spring him as they're entering the offensive zone. But to generate and create the turnover pretty far deep into your own defensive zone, RJ, and then get all the way up the ice and then finish pretty on a breakaway opportunity. Like, when do you see that happen? Like, that doesn't happen very often. And so I absolutely love that, because that was a true, 185-foot effort from Jared McCann on that goal. Like, that's incredible.
I was just thinking, like, you hear so much about 200-foot players, but you rarely see almost like a 200-foot play in itself. And that breakaway too, the way he pauses as he's about to shoot, he looks like he's going to go deep to the backhand. Like, if I'm watching that in slow motion, I think, okay, he's deking to the backhand. And I think Skinner thought it too, because he was totally unprepared for that shot.
Yes, he was. He was frozen. But yes, it's just one of those things, like, if you were to casually describe it to somebody where you were just like, yeah, Jared McCann stole the puck in the defensive zone, and then he scored on a breakaway, right? You're thinking it was like, what, he intercepted a pass between blue liners up top and just skated up the gut. And it's like, no, not at all.
Yep.
It's crazy. But yeah, I don't think they
Stratic saying you like the Wenberg goal best. And yes, I did too, but I figured couldn't go with that one.
No. I will always stand by that McCann goal. That was just great. B, I don't think they faded away after the goal went away, but I think it did turn the momentum a bit. Like, they came out in the third with energy, but it just wasn't enough to keep things in their favor. Good opinion there. Let's see. Are we hoping for the Leafs to put in Martin Jones or Sammy? Both sound like a setup, especially Martin Jones' revenge game masterclass from a Bach.
Martin Jones would be better for the entertainment and the storylines, like if we're media covering the game. But I think if you want the win, Samsonov, he's much more hit or miss. And the Jones revenge game totally could happen. I could see that.
Yeah, I think so. And Lindsay saying Martin Jones tribute video. Think we see one? Probably.
I think we do. I think we see a short one.
I think we see one. Yeah. How could you not? Let's see. Everybody want to keep Evans in the lineup. Ricky, keep Riker. Trade Schultz will bring something back. I mean, I don't know that you'd want to trade Schultz. You'd want that depth, especially on the blue line.
Yeah. But now that you don't have Megna anymore, you got to keep Schultz around just in case.
Yeah, but you could certainly still have Riker in the lineup over him. I think that would be fair. Lindsay, just to be clear, Dylan is still anti-biowarfare against McDavid, lol. Yes, on principle, yes. And again, it would not have helped us tonight anyway. So just saying.
Dylan just, so begrudgingly against biological warfare. Like, yeah. Fine.
Yep, there we go. Let's see. Vyren letting us know McDavid has 0 fighting majors in his career. So yeah, if Karchik could have pulled that one off, that would have been great. Would have been really, really good.
Yeah, I was hoping for a third minor penalty at least, because McDavid's never had 3 penalties in a game in his career. Mm-hmm. So that would have been a first.
You were sitting on that tweet for a long time. Rebecca saying,
I thought he was going to get it in that scrum after the Gord hit.
Yeah. And then Rebecca pointing out he correctly learned his lesson in juniors by breaking his hand.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yep. That was a long time back, but yeah, I remember it too. Let's see, Jake, but Tanev had that one beautiful one in season 1. He did. I remember that one. That might have been on a PK, actually.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he went to the backhand and kind of a similar move, the one he was trying today.
He had Skinner today. Like, Skinner bit on the forehand deke. He had him. He just couldn't finish.
He's just snake bitten.
He is. Let's see. We should 100% move Schultz. He has value, and we have someone who's better than him right now. Trade him before he spends time on the bench till the deadline. So definitely a different take there. Sean, my wife just chimed in. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, then every day would be Christmas. Oh, Turbo. That is true. Oh, man. Let's see. Absurdly said, I think mild-mannered social studies teacher Mr. Bjorkstrand is the most likely Kraken to call people Buster.
You're 100% right on that.
1,000%.
Definitely.
Yep. All day. all day. Lindsay, Riker over Schultz when Dunn is healthy. Agree that we could trade Schultz at the deadline and maybe find a little value in return instead of letting him be a free agent again. I mean, several people are saying that, RJ. I really don't know how much value Schultz would have on the trade market.
I think he'd have a decent amount of
Mid-round pick,
value. I
third
think
rounder?
you could get a second round pick for him.
Really?
Yeah, the inflated trade market for defensemen at the deadline, yes. But I still don't support trading him, even if you can get a second round pick. And the reason is, if the playoffs are your target and your goal, which they should be, then and all it takes is one injury, and all of a sudden you're going to have what? Cale Fleury, Ville Ottavainen, somebody who we haven't seen yet this season playing playoff games for you. You just don't want that.
No, I'm with you. I don't know. I feel like last year teams kind of learned their lesson at the trade deadline, and we didn't see that kind of overinflated value for guys like him.
Maybe. I mean, well, I think he's worth more than Megna was.
Well,
Megna went for a fourth.
Yeah, well, I was thinking a third, in which case a third is definitely not worth giving up your depth in this situation as you're chasing a playoff spot. So, I mean, I'm with you either way. Like, I'm not moving him. I don't know. Granted, we're only 2 years removed from Jeremy Lauzon getting you a second, so who knows?
Yeah, it's true. Lauzon did fetch a second.
Oh man. Al from Edmonton, Gord's skating off the ice with blood on his face. It's on, Seattle. Rematch when you're healthy and rested. Can't wait. Yes, I think if the Kraken were healthy and rested, not at the tail end of a road trip, this game would have been really interesting, RJ, given how prepared the Kraken were for it in the first period.
Yeah, I think you could see, if you catch the Kraken with everybody healthy, you could see maybe a statement game like they made in the Winter Classic against Vegas, where you come out and play just really solid defensively. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good matchup between these two teams. Like, it feels like the Oilers usually get the better of it, but again, I could see that changing the way the Kraken have played over the last couple of weeks.
Definitely. And Triadic, I think, hits the nail on the head here. Vince would have enjoyed playing in this one, I think.
Oh yeah, this game had Vince Dunn written all over it. He would love it.
Oh man, so good. Lindsay, hey, at least we stopped McDavid on that spin move and got revenge. Did you all see the Owen Tippett backhand spinorama tonight? Filthy. No, we'll have to go check that out afterwards, or I'll check it out right now. It looks like.
Yep, watching it right now.
Kraken dog. Our team is getting worse instead of better. We need a rebuild of the struggling Kraken. I don't know that I'd go that far, Kraken dog. I really don't know that I'd go that far. And then Zoe, there was that tilted ice. There was this game was a classic tilted ice game, RJ. I'm telling you, all the goals except for one happened all at the same end of the ice. And what's crazy is normally as the road team, when it's that way, RJ, Kraken had the benefits of it for the first and third period, but they just couldn't finish.
Yeah, the ice wasn't quite tilted enough in the third. They were getting chances, but not tilted quite enough.
Yep. Let's see. Nicole saying Leafs play the Canucks the day before us, so I feel like we're getting Sammy. That's good.
Probably, yeah, and especially Jones being a Vancouver native, you might want to get him in for that one.
Yes. Stratic saying, RJ, you could still tweet it and ask what it would take for McDavid to get 3 penalties in a game.
I guess so. Wouldn't do the same numbers.
No, probably not.
Maybe if I frame it, what would it take for the league's baby, Connor McDavid to get 3 penalties in a game? I don't want to lean into that.
We would get attention, that's for sure. I'm not sure that it's attention we want. From El Bell, we need to win again so Joey can get his empty netter. He deserves it after being denied his assist tonight. Yeah, I mean, this will light even more of a fire under him, I think, RJ, for that one.
Yeah, although, you know what? Is it bad that I'm kind of relieved that he didn't score one on the road trip? Because if he scores a goal, I kind of want to be there to see it.
How selfish of you, RJ. You could at least say, I want to be there so I could ask him about it and get it out to all of the wonderful ECH community members.
Yeah, okay.
It's all about the phrasing, RJ.
Yes.
But no, I don't blame you. I mean, we talked about this earlier. Was that earlier this year on the Red Glare? About like what would you rather be there for, like a goalie goal or something else?
Yeah, or a goalie fight.
Yeah, goalie fight. Yeah, and I think we both said goalie goal, right? Like, how do you?
Yeah, I think so. Hey, we've got a real shot at it. Feels like.
Yeah, Kraken definitely do, and so does everybody. If you go to
the hockey gods answering Answering our prayers.
That's it. So, Kraken Doc, we have absolutely no star players. Ask Bettman for our expansion money back. We suck. I like this from Nicole. Sin City, make a burner account.
I know, maybe.
Maybe Kraken Dog is throwing this one in there. Of course, Beniers is injured. Yes, that is true. But yeah, that's not too bad. Like, look, they're deeper than most teams, and when they're healthy, that depth plays certainly come playoff time. That's why it's important that they can just get there, and then who knows what can happen. And then Stratic pointing out with Justin Schultz, he's got a ring, he has value. That is very
I was
true.
thinking about that, actually. Like, GMs are going to value that.
And you know who he'd have the most value to because of that, RJ? The Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, yep. There you go. Ken Holland.
No team.
He's all about rings in the room.
Yep. No team will go out of their way to trade for somebody with, ridiculous value to add another ring to the room than the Edmonton
They
Oilers.
wanted to give up a first for Susie, seemed like, last year. Kraken wouldn't move him, but...
Yep, light. I was wondering about that Sin City fellow. Was looking forward to him after the Winter Classic. Yeah, suspiciously missing for that one. Christian, not a hockey question, but I've been wondering this all watch along. Is that a One Piece shirt, Dylan? If so, nice. Yes, it is. Thank you for noticing. It's from their collaboration with Cloud9, the esports organization. And I'm rocking a brand new set of One Piece keycaps too on my keyboard because of it. So good stuff. We'll talk sometime about it, Christian.
I know what some of those words are.
Yeah, more appropriate. He understood collaboration and keycap. Maybe keycap. That might be a stretch.
I didn't know that one.
Okay.
But I know what one is and I know what piece is. Not together, but I just...
Yes. Let's see. I'll play my hand before the armchair GM stream. Toronto is 100% looking for a guy like Schultz. Okay, there we go. I think we could get an interesting return from their forward group who has been messy this season. Interesting. I'll save the rest for the stream. It's Mitch Marner.
Yep. That's the one. That's who you target.
And Ricky.
Hey, if they're 105% looking for him.
Yes. And Ricky asking, yep, Leafs are playing trash at second and third pairs. They are. Like, they do need defensive depth. Like the Leafs do. Wait until after Sunday, I would say. Probably would be a good idea. But yeah. And then Viren, is there anyone who even has the cap space to do that trade now? Schultz trade? I think so. Like, his cap is not terrible, is it?
It's really not. Like, he's not being paid that much, but just nobody has any cap space right now. It seems like, again, Schultz's contract is only $3 million. How many teams have over $3 million in cap space right now? Let me look. In projected cap space.
Arizona, Columbus, Nashville, Anaheim, Buffalo, Chicago. So 6.
Yeah. I mean, deadline cap space is a different story. Most teams are going to have that space at the deadline, but like, not many.
Hey, Nashville, let's do a repeat of the Lauzon trade right now. Let's do it. We can do it. Let's see.
Doesn't play with enough grit.
Yeah. Everybody, sorry, the Kraken Dog guy here. We were now all realizing that he's just a bad troll. Let's see. Is this that one? Oh yeah, the one Vancouver guy. Speaking of Vince Dunn, where's Holloway these days? Viren.
Oh yeah, Holloway. I mean, still with. Oh wait, I didn't notice him. Is he a scratch? What's going on?
I was gonna say, like, what am I missing?
Bakersfield Condors.
What am I missing here? Explain it.
Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway in the Oilers org, but now he's down with Bakersfield.
Yeah, what's the connection to Vince Dunn? Why am I spacing?
They have like 3 fights. They fought multiple times in the NHL.
I knew that.
They've got history.
Yeah.
It took me a second. Don't worry, Dylan.
Yeah. I mean, as the member of the Kraken? I think I remember one fight with him with the Kraken.
This season.
Oh yeah, that's why. That's why.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trade Matty for McDavid. I'm happy. Yeah. There we go. Al, 3 breakaways in the first period. I would say that stretch pass was working for the Kraken. It really was. I mean, we made the joke because they were struggling down low, RJ, in the offensive zone. They could not hold on to a puck or complete a pass, particularly below the goal line. So I was wondering if the Kraken were just farsighted, because they could make these gorgeous stretch passes up the ice like it's nothing, and then they just couldn't even like connect when they were like 3 feet away from each other. I still don't know what's up about that. Like, this is the worst the Kraken have ever looked doing that, considering over half of the season, RJ, they were built around connecting on passes below the goal line in the offensive zone. And then this one, they were just all off, on various pages in different books entirely.
I like that. I like that sort of phrase. Various pages of different books entirely. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, they're passing in those areas was not what it usually was. I mean, thankfully the stretch passes were working. That's usually a staple for the Kraken, though. They do apparently lead the league in stretch passes. But the Oilers did adjust to it. That's the kind of thing where you can catch a team off guard early in a game when they're not ready for it. But good teams are going to adjust.
Yeah, definitely. Habak here. Our team doesn't suck. It's just a Seattle sports team. Let them cook.
Yep.
That's all we got to do, everybody.
Got to recognize the difference.
Yep, definitely. It's good stuff. Oh, man. Oh, good stuff. Brooke, Dylan, love the Myotic in the background, too. Yes, it's a whole shelf of Pokemon plushies up there, just out of frame. Almost all water Pokemon, because they're the best. Not that I'm trying to start anything.
Chat just explodes.
That would be great. I would so welcome like just a Patreon like Pokemon chat. Like, that would be so good for me. I did see somebody earlier saying sports is just Pokemon, because you have coaches who are like the trainers. The players are like Pokemon because they go out there and they do battle, and then when they get injured, they go to like a training room or the hospital, like the Pokemon Center, and that's Pokemon. And they're not wrong. Actually, like, that is kind of what happens. Yeah, I guess so.
Is this analogy how we get me into Pokemon? Just look at it like sports.
Maybe. I'm just saying, coaches devise the scheme. They tell the players what to do. The players go out there and they do the battle, and one wins. I mean, that's Pokemon. You can hang out with them. They're buddies, right? Like, it's Pokemon. Yeah. Oh, man, some good stuff. The Oilers bringing back Justin Schultz after he was run out of town as a young player would be hilarious. Yes, I wasn't even thinking about that Striatic when I brought up the idea of him going there. But yeah, that would be interesting. It would be interesting. I don't know that he would sign off on that if he has the ability to say no. Bach, what is Seattle sports without a little pain and suffering? Yeah, that's very true. Unfortunately. Would like to not always have it, but oh no. Bryce, my friend tells me One Piece gets really good after 100 episodes, and I don't think we value time the same way, dude. I mean, I think it gets good at points in that first 100 episodes, but I'm like, yeah, no, I'm telling you, there's some good sections of good 100 episodes at a time, and then maybe like dips for 50 episodes or so. Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild ride. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but also I hope everybody gets to experience it. Could we sign Warren Fogle this summer in Armchair GM?
Ooh, I don't see why not. Is his contract? I'm not immediately familiar with his contract status. Yes, he's a UFA. Absolutely, we can do that on the Armchair GM stream. Good. Looking forward to it. Just throw that in chat, and we can look at him as the solution. I mean, hey, he scores a couple goals a game. That would help the Kraken's goal output. Yeah, we just project 2 goals per game.
Yep. Lindsay, Preds beat the Kings, but we avoided the worst possible scenario in overtime where both teams get points. Yes, that was the one thing. I've tried really hard not to mention it, but yeah, that is good that we have avoided that one. Nicole pointed out Calgary lost today as well. That was certainly good. Zoe telling me Dunn is the only person Holloway has ever fought. Interesting. Huh. So there's definitely like something going on there.
Yeah. I think we asked him about it after that last game too, the history there, and he just said something like, we have history, I'll leave it at that kind of thing.
Yeah. Demir's asking, what makes the Preds good? Is it all goaltending?
That's a good question.
I was going to say no, because isn't Saros kind of struggling this year a little bit, or at least for him?
I mean, he hasn't he's got pretty high standards, but he hasn't been like the world beater that he usually is. I think
3.02 goals against average is certainly high for him, and 900 save percentage is definitely low for him.
Yeah, I mean, half the games are quality starts, but no, I mean, you're seeing, I think they're finally having a lot of their players that are healthy throughout the full. Like Philip Forsberg, he's played every game so far, and he's
Mhm.
scoring at more than a point per game pace. Like they're a team that has a lot of good young depth. I think that they
Yeah.
really need, with some of their better players being older guys. Like I'm thinking about guys like Evangelista, like Tommy Novak,
Mhm.
Phil Tomasino, like names we don't really know that well, but like just are really solid secondary pieces.
Right. I was just going to say, they kind of remind me of the Kraken in the sense that they have depth. The difference is they have just a rock star, superstar finisher in Forsberg, and then they have like that true definitive number one center in Ryan O'Reilly. Right? Like those are the guys that when Nashville finds themselves in games or moments like the Kraken found themselves in tonight, they find a way to at least get that game to overtime, if not win it. Right?
Yeah.
Those two guys kind of have that potential, and it feels like the Kraken just don't have two guys like that on their group.
Yeah. And they know how to defend as a team. They're really good 1 through 6 on that blue line. I mean, they have been for like a decade, that
Yes.
Preds team, no matter who cycles in or out.
Yeah, definitely. And I was gonna say Roman Yossi's like a power play god too, so that helps. Keeps this
Yeah,
he
definitely helps.
alone keeps their special teams up there. But I really like that question, and yeah, it's because it's
That's a
an
good
interesting
question.
one. It's an interesting one. Really like that question. Let's see. Chandler, the stretch passes were worse since Dunn wasn't the passer. They were still good. They were still good. Um, let's see. Brooke, my boyfriend loves Pokemon, but is indifferent on sports. New strategy, lol.
There
Definitely.
you go.
Definitely. Um, let's see. B ECHL to AHL to NHL, aka Pokemon Evolution. Of course. Of course. And then
You
Circling
could do a whole stream on
I
this.
could totally, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to make a video about it. For sure. Circling Seattle
That could
Sports.
get a lot of views if it hits the
Could.
algorithm just right.
Could. Sports equals Pokemon makes sense. They did show sunglasses, Sax, Squirtle, a Kraken game. Well, yeah, but how do you not show that?
Yeah, I mean, that was shown everywhere at everything because of course it was.
Yep, definitely good. Habak, who wants to kidnap Austin and keep him in Seattle? Mustache Boy isn't going anywhere. It's a good thing I'm not up there, RJ. I would be a person of interest, I feel like, if that was to happen, whether I
Yeah,
was involved or not.
I don't, I'm not a snitch, but I might be pointing the finger at you. Because I don't know. How can it be anyone else?
Yeah. Like I still think we need to sign Kessel for no other reason than to keep a Kraken killer off the market, lol. Let's bring him in, RJ.
Hey, as media covering this team, I would love it.
Hmm.
Yeah, all for it.
Yep, definitely, definitely. Nashville actually underperforming their team analytics. It's
Hmm,
really, that's kind of surprising. They
interesting. And
don't
that's
seem
also
like a team
potentially
that would do
scary.
that. Yeah, well,
Right.
that is true. Um,
Sorry.
no, it's fine, it's fine. Christian saying Kraken need to have a Nintendo night, being that Nintendo is local. Yeah, I mean,
That's a really
obviously,
good
it's
idea.
a really good idea. Well, because we know they went there to do the Mario Kart tournament
Right, to
this
their
last off
headquarters.
season. Yes, as where is it? Brooke pointing out, Nintendo of America and Pokemon both have offices in Bellevue and share a suite in CPA. They could totally have a night. That is something that absolutely needs to happen.
Should I float that one to PR?
Yeah, yes, actually, yes, you should totally. I don't
Like
know
just
that they,
casually in conversation, but just get the idea in their heads.
yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
Just doing that real quick. Sorry,
Thank you, Dylan.
I was hoping to talk for a second. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that needs to happen, especially because like the whole Mario Kart thing went really well.
Yeah, it went great. I mean, that was such a great theme for the team last year. And in chat, Brooke and Christian, yes,
Yes,
RJ, do
yes,
it.
yes.
Becca, okay. I figured, yeah, in
And
chat, everyone's gonna be all for it.
yeah, and it'd be saying, imagine a Pokemon thing Kraken jersey. I know who was it up here? Was talking about the Marvel Knights. Yeah, I was so jealous when the Kings had Marvel Knight and Marvel jerseys. Kraken need to have the Nintendo Knight. Yeah, no, that would be so dope.
I mean, you
So
want
dope.
money. Like making a Nintendo theme jersey. Come on, those things would
Hmm.
sell.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then Habak confirmed Soros has the most career losses by a goalie against the Kraken. Weird. So there you go. We just need to play more games against Nashville.
I like that stat.
That's an interesting stat. You're gonna use that in the media room, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Oh,
knew
you
it.
know it.
I knew
I'll
it.
credit Habak.
Yes. That's good. Imagine a Nintendo goalie mask from Joey from Mega Man Zero. Oh man, that would be so
Yeah.
dope.
Oh, yeah, by the way, on the Habak with that stat, right? I mean, you guys are like a superpower
Mm-hmm.
for us, by the way, and like in media
Yes.
circles, because you guys bring up like the coolest stuff, the most interesting stats. Like this community is like we got hundreds of people that that bring up cool stuff, and I mean, we get asked all the time, like, where did you come up with that? Like whether it's a stat or some observation, it'd be like it was on the Discord. Someone just posted it. I think most recently it was at the team record on the bobblehead nights, and I asked
Yeah.
Wenberg about that, and like everybody else in the scrum just looked at me like, how did you know that? And like, and I'm like, hey, it was just on the Discord.
Yeah. No, we do that. I've done that at games both down here and visiting up there. Like just brought up stats and yeah, people are like, "Oh, how did you know that?" And it's like, "Oh, the ECH community." Wouldn't you like to have it? No. I'm not that obnoxious.
Not all the
Fairly,
time.
I think they would still say I'm obnoxious, but not that bad.
Yeah.
And then yeah, no, it would be like printing money if they did some sort of Pokemon thing for sure. And Kraken Goalie's a starter Pokemon from Becca. I will think about that and I will get back to you, Becca, because I want to spend a little more time than what we can do for right now. It's 5, by the way. He's lost to us 5 times from Habak there.
Huh.
So that's
They haven't
really solid.
played the Kraken that much.
Yeah, and then from Absurdly Saying, I feel like I heard a week or so ago that one of our guys is/was a big Pokemon guy, but I've forgotten who. How did I miss that if that did happen like a week ago?
Yeah, I don't remember hearing anything about that. I don't know how I would have missed it. I can ask around and figure
feel
out.
like a lot of people, yeah. Maybe I should just do that like next time I'm up there or in the visitors locker room or something down here, and I should just casually bring up Pokemon somehow and just see who turns to look at me with that glint in their eye.
Yep. Just have a conversation with someone in the media, just a little bit louder than usual. And see who looks over.
Lindsay Donskoy was the Pokemon fan. Oh, there we go.
Aww.
Christian Donskoy should be the Pokemon PR, the Kraken resident Pokemon fan. Yes. No, we could do that. Did you see his ODR, RJ? Kraken logo.
Oh, yes, I did. I did. Yep. He's Kraken for life now.
Yep. Definitely. And then Light here, positive to end the night. Vince was dressed at morning skate today. He could be back at home. Brighter days are on the horizon. It's nice that we are not back in the mindset from November. That is for sure. Like this has been a 3-game losing streak, RJ, and yet here we are. We're all having fun talking about this stuff.
Yeah, we are. No, definitely a different feeling than when the losses pile up 7, 8 in a row like that. Still general optimism about the season, I think.
Yep. Definitely. Oh, and Brooke Wenberg has an Instagram picture with the salmon captioned with something about Magikarp. Wenberg, interesting. I've never spoken with him, so maybe this is my in.
Yep.
Casually bring up Pokemon. It's better than me awkwardly trying to speak Swedish to him.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's much better ground for me to start on. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for having this fun time with us here. I know the game didn't quite go as well as we wanted it to. Still some positive moments from it. Still some good effort from the boys in this one. RJ felt like still able to talk about some good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be on to Toronto, back home. Hopefully everybody gets healthy.
Yeah, that's the best part. They're coming home. I'm looking forward to getting to watch some games in person again. And I think they still got that home winning streak going. So they can keep it going.
Yeah, that's true. And look, they went on a massive winning streak there. So 3 losses, not the worst thing in the world, especially if that's where all their injuries are going to kind of pile up in, and then we can get away from that and get back to winning. So looking forward to that game against the Leafs soon. Thanks to everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you all for the super chats, those who gave. And thanks to the patrons one more time for joining us for the live game commentary. Had an absolute blast watching that game with everybody. And thank you everybody for letting me talk about Pokemon. It's the best.
You're welcome, Dylan.
You're all the best. All right, everybody. We'll see you after that Leafs game.